Shalom, everybody, and welcome, Judea, to the world. You're a part of it wherever you are. So good to be with you here today. So good to be broadcasting from the good Holy Land. Having a hard time hearing. Oh, I hear it here. I don't hear it here. I don't know why that is. That's better. Let's fix it like this. Okay. All right. So great to be with you. Let's hear from you. I want to hear your voices from all over the world. I want to hear what you got to say. I want to hear your blessings from wherever you are to the Holy Land. I want to hear it. So please do me a favor and write me in the comments where you're from. Let me know how you're doing and send a blessing to the land of Israel. For example, Rarad, who sends me a blessing saying, Yishai, God bless you. And I send you blessings right back because that's my job here as a Jew in the land of Israel. Send you blessings from the good land. That's right. I want to hear, where else are you from? See, USA. Bless Israel. Very good. Hello from Alaska. And shalom to you. We've just been watching. My kids and I have been just watching some Alaska videos. It's been a lot of fun. Amen. Okay, we got Ireland. We got Scotland. We got America. We got England. Here we go. People are coming in. I love it. I love this thing. I love this thing. All right. From Kansas and from Springfield, Illinois. You know what, Yo, you could take over putting them up, and I'll just read them. And I want to thank Yo, my producer, for being with us here from Brooklyn, New York, of course, Wisconsin, USA, and Canada. We'll talk about Canada later on in the show. Holland. I've visited Holland. Phoenix, of course, been to Phoenix. Got my good friend Jake out there. Blessings from France. Great. All right. People from all over the world. Blessing prayers for Israel from the USA. I think I see some Sweden. I think I see some Ireland. I think I see some Florida. Come on, I want to see them all. I want to see Germany, everybody. I don't know who just wrote the word wow, wow. Fitz just wrote wow, wow. I just want to say like this. When I give people tours, I'm always telling them, I give you permission to be wowed. I want you to say wow. When you see the Jewish people return to the land of Israel, I want you to say wow. When you see the Bible come to life, I want you to say, wow. When you see God's presence extant and alive in this world, I want you to say, wow. I want you to be wowed by things. All right, we're going to talk about Netanyahu. Let's keep up this comment right now that Netanyahu is, what was the word? Netanyahu is what? Netanyahu is, there was a tech, indestructible. All right, we're going to talk about that. We're going to start the show with that issue. And first, we're going to invite on to the show hostess, with the mostest, brings great energy to the good land and to the land of Israel and to the people of the world. That's right. She heralds light into this world. The one and only Malka Fleischer. Shalom and welcome.
Thanks, Yishai. That was a good start to your show. I feel pumped up. I'm like, wow.
That's right. We got to be pumped up, Malka.
Yeah.
We got to be pumped up in this world. We got to have a lot of energy. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
And Malka, I don't know if you know this, but there are rumors that the prime minister of Israel has been killed. That's right. Those rumors are being spread by the folks in Iran. And you can see here, check this out. I'm putting this up as a BBC News. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps stated in a communique that will continue to pursue the killing of Benjamin Netanyahu with full force. The statement adds that the uncertainty of the Israeli prime minister's fate and the possibility of him and his family being killed or fleeing the occupied territories are a sign that the Zionist crisis and turmoil. So that is what the Iranians have put up there, that the prime minister is potentially dead. In answer to that, the prime minister has released this very serious communique.
I'm not dead yet.
It's just a flesh wound.
Let's see the serious communication.
Here we go. People are saying that you are actually dead, Prime Minister. He says, I'm actually dying for some coffee. I like, we say in Hebrew, like, I need metal mashu,
I'm dying for a coffee, yeah.
Like I'm dying, like I or it's another way of saying I fully love something, which means like I'm dying for it, okay? Not only that, but I love my nation. I'm dying for my nation. And how they behave, which is just awesome and fantastical. Excellent.
אתה רוצה לספור את מספר אצבעות?
For some reason, I think that they were claiming that his fingers were chopped off or something like that. So he's just showing, he's like, do you want to count the fingers? So he shows 5 fingers there.
פה. פה. ראית? לחיים.
He says, cheers. He says, you see my fingers? Cheers. He actually snuck in a little prayer there. I see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
לצאת להתאוורר.
He says the question was, should Israelis that have been in bomb shelters, should they go out and air out a little bit and walk the land a little bit, just get out and go to normal life?
אבל ליד מרחב מוגן.
So he says, absolutely go and air out, but be close to a shelter, a bomb shelter.
והעמידה שלכם היא מדהימה, נותנת כוח לי, לממשלה, לצה"ל, למוסד.
The civilian strength, right, has given me a strength, and it gives strength to the army, to the Mossad, to the security services, to all the various security services. Gives us strength, and you've given me strength. Your strong stance has given me strength, says the Prime Minister.
אנחנו עושים דברים שאני לא יכול לשתף ברגע זה, אבל עושים.
We're doing things that I can't talk about, all the different things that we're actually getting done, of course, at this moment.
דברים מכים באיראן חזק מאוד.
But we are striking at Iran very strong. Really, he means the Iranian leadership, very strong.
גם ביום הזה, גם בלבנון.
And also we're striking in Lebanon as well.
ממשיכים. אתם אומרים לי להמשיך?
You're telling me to keep going, and I'm indeed keeping going.
אני אומר לכולכם, גם אתם תמשיכו.
I'm saying to all of you, you too continue. So he's in some coffee shop, some cool coffee shop somewhere, and they're filming this, and he's like, you tell me to continue, I'm telling you, you continue, I'll continue, we're going to keep continuing the fight.
תמשיכו להישמע להוראות פיקוד העורף, כל הזמן, להישמע להוראות פיקוד העורף.
But listen to the civilian command, the civil guard, in order to make sure that you're safe.
וגם לראשי הערים.
And also to the mayors of towns.
להיות תמיד ליד מרחב מוגן.
Be close to a shelter.
אנחנו נקל ככל שהדבר ניתן.
We will lessen the decrees,
the restrictions.
The restrictions, thank you, as much as possible. But
when it's right, when it's appropriate, right.
That's right.
ותודה לך על הקפה, הוא מצוין. אני לא יודע לגבי הקלוריות, זה נראה לי מסוכן מאוד.
He said, I don't know about the calories. That looks really dangerous. Okay.
Little pun.
Yeah. So there's the Prime Minister, and he's just letting the world know that he's okay. He's got all 10 fingers.
Right. We happen to know also, Yishai, we spent some time recently with a person high up in the Netanyahu administration, a person with no poker face. And this person looked totally fine. Clearly no major crises happening in the administration. In fact, the very opposite. The person that we saw looked extremely confident, happy, invigorated, ready for next steps, and feeling like Israel is doing great. The only reason that Iran is able to make these like outlandish rumors take place is because there is damage happening in Israel. It's not as if nothing is happening here. We had some missiles that hit here in Israel just today, in Bnei Brak, in Tel Aviv. Incredible miracles going along with these missiles so far. The reports I've seen indicating light injuries, if any, to people in seriously populated areas. So it is truly a miracle, and Hashem is clearly with us. And so they take these little moments of a few pieces of destruction in buildings and things like that, and they blow it up to make it seem that Israel is just on the edge of destruction. But it could not be farther from the truth.
That's right. So the Prime Minister let the world know about that, and he does it in his inimitable style, right, Malka? Right. But I want you to know that on the other side, there's a guy named Mojtaba, and he's the supreme leader, or the supreme next in line to go to heaven, right, which is awesome.
Khamenei's son.
Mojtaba, right? Mojtaba Khamenei, who, by the way, is also a great real estate mogul, and he's a powerful guy, and he's no slouch. But supposedly he was struck in the first days, and he has not reappeared. Let's see a little video from Israeli news about Mojtaba.
ביום ה-12 למלחמה, היום שבו הסתיים מבצע עם כלבי, הסבב הקודם מול איראן, וישראל מבהירים דווקא היום, נמשיך ככל שידרש עד להכרעה.
So the Israelis are saying we're going to keep fighting all the way until total victory. Wow, this is Israel Katz, Israel's defense minister, and he's calling out the Iranian leadership and calling them a bunch of cowards. So they're cowards because they're able to slay civilians in the streets.
Women and children.
Women and children. Okay, so but when they encounter real force, they run like rats into tunnels. So this is pretty warlike talk here. This is pretty warlike talk against an Iranian leadership. You know, Malka, before we go on, I want to say, you know, I remember that only not so long ago we had years and years and years of shadow war with the Iranians. It was like a shadow war, and it was never.
What do you mean?
War. It was like, you know, Israel would kill their scientists and they would do terrorism using their proxies. It was a big proxy war.
Right.
And now, like, it's a very, very overt war. It's totally, you know, it's
standard.
Right. It's standard. Like, you're the bad guy and I'm going to attack you. And the point is it's a pretty intense frontal war that we're dealing with here. And Mojtaba is one of those bad guys, and he's been injured. Let's keep watching this show.
קודם כל אנחנו נחזור לשם כמה שצריך. להמשיך להסיר איומים ולפגוע בהם. החיבור הזה בצוותי הקרקע, הדבר הזה ביחד זה מה שמגן על עם ישראל. אני רוצה להביע פה הרבה הערכה לכל מה שאתם עושים.
Okay, so that was the chief of the army saying that it's very important our combined arms of ground forces and air forces as well. He's talking about Lebanon.
ממשל נתניהו התייחס לכך בשיחה סגורה עם ראשי הרשויות ואמר, אנחנו פועלים לפי הנחת עבודה שזה יימשך שבועות, אבל אני לא יודע ב100%.
He says we are, the prime minister told the mayors that we are planning for this to be a couple of weeks, but I don't know for 100% how long this whole thing is going to be, and therefore Israel is really using every opportunity they can to strike as hard as possible in order to get in order to get as many targets as possible before, let's say, Trump shuts down the war for other reasons.
נתניהו.
حضرت آیت الله العظما سید مجتبی خامنه‌ای.
ובינתיים יומיים אחרי שמונה למנהיג העליון של איראן, מוג'טבה חמינאי עדיין במחתרת, והיום נחשפו בתקשורת האמריקנית פרטים על מצבו.
So this Mojtaba was elected to be the supreme leader.
What a great picture. Do you see that picture?
Which
Do you see him hiding behind the curtain there?
Yeah. Very Haman-like. Very
Yeah,
Haman.
I like it. That's a good one. Yeah.
So Mojtaba is elected, but he has not been seen, and details are coming out about his condition.
במכת הפתיחה של שאגת הארי הוא נפצע ברגלו וספג חבלה בפניו.
So he was injured in his leg. I heard in different places that his leg has been amputated and that he had some kind of facial injury as well.
היום סיפר שגריר איראן בקפריסין.
So Iran's ambassador to Cyprus said,
כי מוג'טבה פצוע ולא במצב לנאום.
okay, so he's not able to give speeches right now. He's not able to come out, and maybe that's healthier for him. So the bottom line is that Mojtaba is oops. What am I doing here? Hold on one second, Malka. I got a lot of technical stuff. Bottom line is that Netanyahu is okay.
Yeah.
He's strong. Mojtaba, not so much. Not so much. He's not doing so good. So that's Malka, what it looks like vis-a-vis the leaders, the battle between leaders. You want to see another leader, Malka?
Sure.
Okay, how about I'll show you some leaders. First, there's Pete Hegseth. I like
Okay.
this. Watch this one.
Distinguishing between good and evil here.
Check this out.
Up, the IRGC and Iranian regime sees only two things on the side of aircraft: the stars and stripes and the Star of David. The evil regime's worst nightmare.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
Liked it. Yeah.
If you think about what he just said, it makes a lot of sense. We've been told for years and years that Iran wants to get rid of the little Satan and the big Satan. And I say Iran, by the way, I want to make sure that there's no mistakes. I'm not talking about Iran, the Iranian people. I'm talking about the mullah leadership that has been so dedicated to the destruction of Israel. Now they're seeing Israel in their skies, blowing up their stuff. That is their worst nightmare, right?
Yeah, that is, and it should be their worst nightmare. And their evil, oppressive regime, which reaches its tentacles all throughout the world, and aids and abets and funds and inspires terrorism and radical jihadist takeover. They should be quaking in their boots from these forces. That's right. I hope they are.
They definitely are. And even their supreme leader is right now in a hospital or something like that. His face is blown up, and we'll see if he ever comes out. And if he does, the likelihood is that he won't survive for too long. Not survive for too long. It says, beloved Christian says, Tusi TV on YouTube says, Mojtaba is in a coma since the attack that killed his father and many others. So thank you very much. And Tusi has been, Meyer Tusi has been a guest on our show. We got to get him back as well. All right, Malka. So that's the Bibi is alive, Mojtaba is hurt, a part of the show. I want to talk about something else. There's an Instagram influencer. Her name is Razy Cooking. And she is an ultra-Orthodox Jew, a Hasidic Jew, an influencer for women. She has a channel about cooking and house, and she's building this beautiful house somewhere, presumably, I think in New York State, Muncie type place. It's one of these McMansions. And she recently got a question asked to her about the Messianic process, about whether a Jew like her, a believing Orthodox Jew, should be building up the diaspora, or should she not be thinking about moving to Israel and Jerusalem? And she had an answer, and I think that it's fair for us to discuss and critique her answer. I'm going to have to pause as we play this video from time to time to kind of translate the Jewishy English that you're going to hear, because there's a lot of terms of inner Jewish terms of art that need a little bit of translating.
Can I ask you, Yishai, in this time with all the news going on today, what makes you bring up this topic now?
The reason I'm bringing up this topic is because we're living in great times. We're living in a times where the Jewish state is being reborn, where there's also a lot of global anti-Semitism, and this lady is receiving a letter about that, and then she puts it out on social media. She's like, listen, here's a letter coming to me, and I want to answer it, the way I want to answer it. So I think that means it's reflecting that there's a question mark out there about what Jews globally should consider doing at this time. And we're going to have that. We're going to have that on the next segment as well. We're going to talk about what's going on in Canada. So let's bring up Razy Cooking and see what she says about where Jewish history is.
That I want to share. She writes, "Hi Razy, I have a question that I'm trying to phrase politely because I really just want to understand. Firstly, your home is so beautiful. I love the character, the wallpaper, the blue kitchen is a dream. Having said that, here in Eretz Yisrael, we're in the middle of a war, and it feels like Mashiach is coming any second. Do you feel like it's a waste that you're building such a beautiful home in America since Mashiach is coming? Or
so Mashiach, the word Mashiach means Messiah. Okay, that's the Jewish Messiah. It means, it's a messianic period. And the lady that's writing to her, the letter to Razy is from a woman living in the land of Israel. And the lady's saying, I live in the land of Israel. We're at war. You're in this beautiful house, this beautiful, and I've seen some of her videos. It's all about this kitchen, and the kitchen is this baby blue, and this whole discussion, right? And this lady, and the letter is like, don't you think that it's maybe not right for you to build this big home in America when we're, okay.
Is that not on your radar?
Okay, Malka, okay. Here we go.
Okay.
Since Mashiach is coming, or is that not on your radar? I'm really not judging, just curious. I learned so much from you and love your content, even though our current realities couldn't be more different. So here's my response. When she wrote, is that not on your radar? That was a little ouch to read.
First thing, before we even go on, this was the least ouchy letter I've seen in my life. It was like the nicest letter ever. It was like, I love you, you're great, but I have a question. And if just before I hear her answer, I just want to say, don't you think that the first thing out of this lady's mouth should be, I'm praying for your safety, Bezrat Hashem?
Let's see what she says. I mean, I could understand where, we're being called out. You and I, Yishai, we're like very blunt, and we talk tough, and people talk tough back to us, and we can take it and they can take it, and everybody's used to this culture of argumentation.
Right.
But not everybody is. Like, I could understand why.
But wouldn't you think that the first thing that she should say is
something wrong?
What should say the first thing is, I'm praying for you, my sister.
Well, let's see what she says.
Okay. I mean, I just that's what I would guess would be the right thing to say here. I'm pushing it back just a little bit. Here we go.
Radar, that was a little ouch to read, and I did feel like it carried some judgment, but I also understand that she's under a lot of stress, and I can see where the question may be coming from. I actually yearn for Mashiach every single day.
I yearn for Messiah, the coming of Messiah every day.
Right. This is the Jewish way. Yishai, we got to back up for a second. Why is that even a thing? Like, why is this even a discussion right now? Because one lady wrote, I feel that there is like a major energy shift going on in the land of Israel right now. What are you doing over there? Right. And this lady goes, what do you mean? This energy shift, this like the messianic era, this is something I'm super keyed into. I care about it very much. How can you say that you care about it over there in the land of Israel and I don't care about it here in America?
Started. This is actually something that I deeply care about. But I do want to say this. There are many shittas. Shittas means opinions and interpretations about what will happen when Mashiach comes. Some say that all Jews will move to Israel. Others say that the whole world will become like Eretz Yisrael, and Eretz Yisrael, Israel, will become like Yerushalayim.
Okay, so she's saying, and correctly, there is such a midrash that says, she says one version of the Messianic period is that all Jews will be ingathered to the land of Israel. But another one is that the whole globe will become like the land of Israel, and the land of Israel will be known as Jerusalem. So everything will go up a holiness level.
Right. And the question is, are Jews supposed to be in the land of Israel? And what is the land of Israel?
Right.
Razi, that's her name, right? Razi seems to indicate that maybe it's not a problem to be where she is as a pious Jew, because where she is will ultimately become the land of Israel.
Right. But that part is not exactly accurate, because what that medrash was never saying that therefore Jews can stay, because the Bible is replete with the idea that the Jews will be ingathered to the land of Israel. That's not in doubt. That is every prophet talks about the ingathering of the Jewish people to the land of Israel. However, the world will go up a level. The Gentiles, the non-Jews, will have a status of the land of Israel. It's not that the Jews are supposed to stay out there. That's not true. That's not the way it's understood. All right, but anyway.
Others say that we may continue living around the world and we'll come to Eretz Yisrael for the Shul Shagulim, because even in the times of the Bais HaMikdash, not all Jews lived in Eretz Yisrael. Many lived in Bovel and in many other places.
So she says, very honestly and correctly, she says that some people say that the Jewish people will only come to the land of Israel during the three festival holidays.
Well, that the Jewish people will come en masse from around the world, that there will be Jews in the land of Israel, but Jews have to come 3 times a year. That's the mandate, not to live in the land of Israel all year long.
Right. And Jews will continue to live around the world and not in the land of Israel, says Razi.
So I don't think that buying this house is a conflict of interest at all. But what I think is even more interesting is how much we still need to learn about Mashiach. For example, we always learned that when Mashiach will come, we'll fly to Israel on eagles. Back then, there were no airplanes. They had to describe something that they couldn't comprehend back then. So they had to use language that they understood. And I remember also dwelling over the fact I couldn't understand, how will it be that when Mashiach comes, the whole world will know instantly? How is it possible that when they'll blow the shofar in Yerushalayim, how will we hear it in America? It didn't make sense. But now, today, with technology and the internet, of course, I get it. So as we get closer and closer to the redemption, we are, Baruch Hashem, understanding things that was once impossible to imagine.
Okay, so she's saying something very beautiful, that technology, the wings of eagles, or the airplanes, the Halal airplanes that bring us home, the technology will be such that when the shofar blasts in Jerusalem, it'll be heard around the world instantaneously. And I think she's really saying that we're living in Messianic times and that she's plugged into that.
So I think that living with Mashiach doesn't mean stopping life, but it means living fully. And
well, I don't think that anybody was asking about stopping life. The question was, whether you would put your money, time, and effort to come and build Jerusalem. And this is the issue that I have with so
Wait,
far this. Go
Okay.
ahead, Malka.
Are you gonna are we gonna watch to the end?
If that, Malka, you're the wife.
Yeah, I mean, we should watch to the end. I think
Thank
she
you.
probably just has a few more seconds.
You got it. Here we go.
Getting excited about what's coming. Because if we truly believe that Mashiach is close, then the best thing we can do is learn more, prepare ourselves spiritually, emotionally, and build lives and homes full of light so that when the day comes, we're ready.
Okay, so that was Razy cooking. And
Right.
she's
So she
definitely-
says that what you have to do in order to get ready for the messianic times is to learn more and have your soul in order so that when the Messiah comes, you're like good to go. What do you have to say?
I have to say this. This morning I woke up and I knew that I had to do a live show, and I knew I had to get to booking all my guests and getting all the videos, and I'm like, oh, it's a lot of work. And I'm like, okay, here we go. Take a deep breath. And then I looked at my phone and I saw 2 emails, Malka, 2 emails
Okay.
of Jews writing to me that they have decided to come to the land of Israel and that my show has helped them get to
Wow.
that consciousness. And I thought to myself, my day is made. I know what I have to do. I got to keep going. And I think the thing that's not being discussed by Razy, who I appreciate, who I very much appreciate, I appreciate the things that she said there. And I appreciate her. And I appreciate her also creating a rationale that's a Jewish rationale. I respect that. And I respect that it's rooted in the sources, and I respect that she sees messianic process. I do. I think that she's not asking a question that really a Jewish person and all lovers of God should always ask themselves, which is, am I doing God's will? Am I listening to what God wants at this time? Am I living my life in accordance with what I understand God wants happening? Now, we're living in a time where God is being very revealed. He promised thousands of years ago that he would gather the Jews to the land of Israel. He's in gathering. He promised that he would build Jerusalem. He's building Yerushalayim. And to be part of that and to have a hand in that is a big merit. That's part one. Part two is that I do think also that the diaspora experience is shrinking. It's not as safe. Malka, are you hearing me in your headphones?
I hear you great.
Okay, because I'm hearing a little echo there.
Oh, I don't know.
And so I very much appreciate what she is saying in terms of that she cares about the religion, she cares about the peoplehood, and she cares about the stories, the promise of Messiah. But I don't think she's asking herself, like, are we living in a time where the Jerusalem is being built? A Jew and all lovers of God should be like, I want to be closer to you. By the way, I did love one thing she said, loved. Really, it touched my heart, honestly.
Okay.
I love that she said that maybe all Jews should come 3 times a year to the land of Israel. I like that very much, Malka. I just felt like, good. At least there was like this moment where, like, yes, I do have to come to the land of Israel. It's not something that's become this, like, the land of Israel is not a physical thing. It's like a real thing in her heart. I love that she was able to say, yes, we should come at least 3 times a year. But I don't think she understands the time that we're living in.
Right.
And I think that video actually does show that she has an internal bit of conflict. Did you feel that inside or not?
Well, I'll tell you what it seemed to me. What it seemed to me is that the person who was writing to her was really going crazy. We're living in unbelievable times right now. Miracles are flying left and right. And you are like you're not on the same page with us. You are powerful. You are influential. You are full of capabilities. Why aren't you here contributing to the thing that's going on here? Like, why are you not taking part? I have to say that I also went to her Instagram page, and I'm not here to dig on anybody or anything, but I didn't see any content about the war, right? And she doesn't owe that to anybody, and she's not bad. And my guess is that she's just trying to, keep her life as normal, and she sees her content as a way of elevating people out of their experiences or a million things. She seems like truly a pious and a good and a sensitive person. But I think that the writer was trying to highlight that there are like two planets of existence happening in the Jewish world today. One of them is in the land of Israel, and one of them is outside the land of Israel. And that the people in the land of Israel are having this like really powerful experience. And some people are wondering, like, how is everyone not rushing to be a part of this? Even though on the outside it looks like rockets and it looks like taxes and it looks like what it looks like, right? On the outside, which is not simple, not simple. And yet the people who are spiritually driven see this kind of experience not as a repellent, but more as a magnet, that something is really happening here. And we want awesome people like Razy, like anyone out there listening. If you're listening to this, I'm talking about you, okay? We would love to include everybody, right? We would love for everybody to get in on this experience. And when people actively choose not to, right? When they entrench further into the diaspora, then people just want to know why, right? They're like, why did you choose to do that? And Razy in her video attempted to explain why she chose to do that, right? She said
I also thought that there was that moment that I said to you, Malka, which is like, she should have said, Razy should have said, my sister, I am praying for you.
Right.
I know you're under rocket fire. I'm praying for you. And the first thing she said, like, I think I feel a little bit of judgment. Well, yeah, you were. There was a little bit of judgment.
There was a little judgment.
There was a little judgment, and that's okay. But like, I think also and she's like, she's under a lot of pressure. That's also a kind of judgment. I would have said, hey,
right? She's not in her right mind. We'll let it slide.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like
maybe she is in her right mind.
Right.
Maybe
and
she's like in her rightest mind ever.
I think a lot of times when I see Tucker, for example, right? So
Lahavdil. We are not comparing Tucker Carlson and this.
No, and I wasn't comparing. I'm saying that she was that when you listen to Tucker, hear the point, Malka. Sometimes is that I hear Tucker, so he's like, oh, they want the third temple. Oh, they need DNA tests. He says all kinds of stuff, but he never asks the most overt proof that something great is happening here, which is the ingathering of the exiles, the building of Jerusalem. Like he's never wowed by he talks about something that's down the line, ethereal, the third temple, but like the ingathering of the exiles that's happening right now, the building of Jerusalem. And that's what I'm saying. Razy's like, oh, Mashiach, she's talking about messianic processes. It's not just some kind of process down the line. It is extant. It is happening. It is real. And I would have said, Razy, how about you buy a smaller house in wherever upstate New York you're buying and buy an apartment in Jerusalem? I'm sure you could have afforded that. Don't you want to? And don't you want to be close to God? Don't you want to talk about?
Well, she might say that God is everywhere, and you don't have to be, next door neighbors with the temple in order to be close to God. And God has been with the Jewish people wherever they have gone throughout the world and throughout history and their ups and downs. And she would tell you that her rabbi says that it's not necessary and that the Messiah will bring them. She basically said that it's not our obligation at this time to come to the land of Israel, and it's absolutely fine. And clearly you can tell just by looking at her that she's very dedicated to keeping the Torah and the mitzvot, and she loves Hashem, and she wants to do what he wants.
All true. Right? But the question is the gear of our time. That's the question. The question is the gear of our time. What time are we in? I hear all that, and I think that if you would have asked me 200 years ago, I'd have been like, build that house in Muncie, But at least Anyway, Malka,
right. I think what you're saying also, Yishai, is that some people hear a call and some people do not hear a call.
Right.
And that is curious, right? It's like, why is it that some people are like scrambling to get to the land of Israel and some people utterly are not?
Right.
And I don't know if I have an answer. I don't know if you have an answer.
I think that the letter writer was asking, why don't you hear the call? I think you got to the bottom of it. I think that's what it is. Like, do you hear the call or not? Do you hear the call of this great time? And are you part of it? Are you finding a way to be part of it? Before we go on, Malka, I just want to say that we just got a super chat. Malka, Yishai, besides everything, difficult times, we love you. Stay strong. Please continue. People like you, General Amira Bibi, and so many more give us hope. We will succeed. Bezrat Hashem, Am Yisrael Chai.
Amen. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that blessing. And I want to remind people that actually a great way to support the show is super chats. And super chats are just so super. They help us continue to broadcast. It's great that you're super chatting. And of course, I'll read your comment if you're super chat. The other way to support is to check out buildisrael.com, because we all want to build Israel, and we want to build Israel together. Am I right, Malka?
100%.
Build Israel together. And you can stay more in touch with us through yishai.tv. And also, there's Yo.
And we want to remind everybody to agree.
Oh, yes.
So if you could just talk about that
Oh,
slightly.
yes, I will. Yo is probably talking about what's going on in the chat.
Yes, I see a lot of attempts to convert Jews to Christianity through short chat messages. That's not the move.
Yeah, it's not the move. Plus, we've been withstanding your short chat messages for 2,000 years.
It's just not the place, and it's not going to happen. And if you want to find favor in the eyes of Jewish people in any way at all, let alone you're not going to convert us. That's not happening. And we could do 10 shows in a row about why that's not happening, but we won't. And we'll just suffice it to say that your tweets are not going to get us to convert our religion and move us away from our one God and our irrevocable relationship with him.
There's another aspect, which is on our chat group. We have this mantra, which is let's agree to agree.
Right.
Let's talk about the many things that we
agree.
If
you want to be our friend, don't push alternative ideas on us. Let's just talk about the things that we can all agree on.
Malka Fleischer, I want to thank you so much. We're going to keep going with a very special guest talking about really the beautiful tension between diaspora and Israel, somebody I respect very much. So we're looking forward to having him right after you. Malka, I want to thank you so much for being with us here at Yishai TV, and lots of blessings to you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom.
I hope next week, by the time we're on the show next week, who knows what will happen. I hope that it will be good news for the Jews and for all of you out there.
And lovers of Israel around the world. Thank you, Malka Fleischer. All right, folks, you are listening to Yishai TV. Thank you very much for being with me. And the situation in Canada is not always so great. Canada, beautiful country. Canada, a country with amazing natural resources, very nice people, good beer, of course, the love of hockey and other weird sports like curling. Canada, a sweet place. And yet when I visited Canada, I went to the Jewish community. It was beautiful, nice, beautiful synagogues. Also, I remember, I'll never forget that they displayed their flags more proudly than I've seen anywhere around the world, the flag of Israel and the flag of Canada. So I was always impressed with that. I always remembered that. At the same time, when I went to Montreal and I went to Carleton University, I was shocked. And this was years ago, by the level of anti-Semitism that I saw there. Something shocking. I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is dangerous. This place is really dangerous. And now there's been recent attacks also in the USA, also in Canada, on the Jewish communities there. And it's starting to feel very different. A person that I've associated Canada, Jewish Canada, especially Toronto, for many, many years, who I've known in a lot of activism for Jewish Canada and for Israel, is Larry Zeifman. Larry is a Toronto accountant who spends a portion of every year in the land of Israel, where he has had a home for 20 years. And this is exactly what we're talking about, which is this, like, how do you bridge those things? Larry is the past president of Beth Avram Yosef of Toronto Congregation, which is the Bayit, the Thornhill Orthodox Synagogue. It's a massive, unbelievable synagogue. And it was shot at last week. He's been active in pro-Israel advocacy for 30 years, including political engagement in Canada at the highest levels. He's been a frequent delegate to the World Zionist Congress and was, as I recall very well, a member of the Prime Minister's delegation, Prime Minister Harper, in 2014, when there was that beautiful light of a pro-Israel Canada. Larry recently penned a Facebook post saying, I think that Toronto, Canada Judaism is at its end. To me, this was a shock. And I said, Larry, please come on the show to discuss it. Larry Zeifman, thank you so much for joining us.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having me, Yishai.
If I could have you a little bit more centered. If I could have you just
clarity, I am a past president of the Bayit, not the past president. So I want to set the record clear. I was president about 30 years ago.
Larry, if I could ask you to move your camera just to center it just a tad more. There you go.
There you go.
Or move the person, one or the other. Those are two options.
There
Good.
you go.
Larry, what is it that you tell me what happened in the last few weeks, in the last few months? Give me a perspective of what's going on, and tell me about what you've written with regarding to Canadian Jewry.
Okay, so I wasn't here for the winter. I was in Israel for the winter, and we came back 2 weeks ago today. And last Shabbat morning, which would have been my first Shabbat back at Shul, Shabbat morning back at Shul, I come to Shul and I see there's a whole bunch of police cars there. And sure enough, the front door of the Shul had been shot up about midnight on Friday night. Last Friday night, and at the same time, another shul, actually my shul before we moved to Thornhill, Shari Shemayim, was also shot up. It's about a 25-minute drive south along Bathurst Street. Yishai, you'll remember that the Toronto Jewish community goes up and down Bathurst Street, and it seems the terrorists go up and down Bathurst Street too, because and they drove down and decided to hit Shari Shemayim as well the same night. And actually, a few days before that, on Purim, a Reform temple to the east was shot at as well.
Wow!
Yeah,
3 synagogues were shot at.
3 synagogues in 1 week. So, okay. So given that, and what we've been feeling,
have the perpetrators been caught? Is there any suspects?
No, nothing.
There is a strong Muslim community in Toronto. Am I right?
Yeah, there is. The anti-Israel community has been growing. Not all of the Muslim community, of course, is anti-Israel, and anti-Semitic by any means. But there's been a growing feeling of fear and trepidation in the Jewish community in Toronto over the last 2.5 years, since October 7th. And there's been a very strong feeling that the community is not supported, that the politicians, both at the federal and the provincial level, and in the municipal level in Toronto, not in Vaughan, not in Thornhill, but in Toronto, really do not have our backs. And you know, as one who's been engaged politically, as you indicated, for many years, I feel that as well. Vaughan is an exception. We have a mayor in Vaughan who's terrific. He came to the shul the first Shabbos after October 7th to show his solidarity. He's been back many times, and he was there last Shabbos morning for quite a while, and really it was heartwarming, the level, and it consistently the level of support he's given us. But outside of him, and of course the Conservative Party federally, who are not in power, they've been tremendously supportive.
Larry, let's not talk about all the nice people who've been supportive. Tell me what the real feeling is. I understand. You got to say nice things about good people. I get it. But what's the real bottom line?
The bottom line is the federal Liberal Party, who are in power and just won another election last April, and are probably going to have a majority government shortly, unfortunately, are not there for us. Carney, in the current war, has said initially he supported it, then he didn't support it. And there was even an attack on a Canadian army base in Kuwait, and he avoided informing the Canadian populace that had happened, because technically I think that would be an act of war against Canada, and he'd have to join the war. He refuses to join the war. Since October 7th, he really has not been there. He wasn't prime minister, remember, for the first while.
Okay, so he doesn't like Israel, fine. But does that mean that the average Canadian Jew feels not safe in Canada? Are those the same, or are those different?
They're very connected. Remember that from your trips to Canada, the Canadian Jewish community is very connected with Israel.
Yeah.
My Mechutin did a study on this and found that 95% of Canadian Jews identify as Zionists. We don't have that same concern about dual loyalty that some Americans do. The Canadian Jewish community is staunchly pro-Israel, staunchly Zionist. And when the prime minister says that if the prime minister of Israel would come to Canada, he'd be arrested, that is an affront to Canada's Jewish community. But besides that, locally, we have demonstrations against Israel. We have intimidation, intentional demonstration, intimidation outside synagogues in the heart of the Jewish community. They've been going on nonstop for 2.5 years.
Wow.
And
you feel like the government and most of the police is not
they don't
there to they don't care. Mm-hmm.
They don't care. And that's hence you referred to my Facebook post, and I followed it up with an article in a newsletter that I've edited for 30 years saying,
I just want to tell you,
guys?
I want you to tell me what you wrote. I just want to tell you honestly, Larry, I know you for many years, and I know how much you have in what I would call an exemplary manner balanced diaspora, your love of Canada and the Canada Jewish community with your love of Israel. I don't know I know I happens to be that because of what I do in life, I meet people like yourself that make that balance, but there's not a lot. And to see you write something that says, and you'll explain to me what you wrote, but what I understood is that you don't feel that Canadian Jewish life is safe anymore, and that therefore it's not really viable. I tell you honestly, I was shocked. I was like, wow, this is a moment.
Well, thanks for your comments, Yishai. Feelings mutual. I greatly respect all the work you do for the Jewish people. But yeah, I think you summed it up. I said that I think it's time to leave. I think that as Jews, every diaspora has an end date in history. And the challenge for Jews is to recognize when that diaspora end date has arrived. We had great years. My family's been here in Canada since 1903.
Wow.
We had great years here in Canada. The days under Stephen Harper were glory days. But the deterioration in the condition of the Jewish people in Canada in the last 11 years is so stark. It's shocking.
Wow.
It's tragic. And
is it all because of how much has progressiveness, liberalism that leads to progressivism, that leads to the what I call the colors that in America they call it blue states, right? So Canada would be like a very, very blue state, but like Canada, the blue color breaks into what I call the 4 colors. One is rainbow, one is red, communist red, and there's 2 greens, environmentalist green and then jihadist green. Okay, how much have liberalism, progressivism, excuse me, been the cause, or is it really just the influx of pro-jihadist elements, or is it the combination of both? Like, what has you say 11 years? What are these 11 years? What has happened exactly?
Well, the biggest, the starkest difference was the federal leadership. But I think so. The federal leadership has led to changes in immigration policy. It has led to wokeism at the federal level, and the immigration policy has impeded the ability to change and to change the political map to the point where I fear that our last chance was last April in the election. And you didn't want to talk about the people who are our friends, but it is important to recognize who our friends are. And Pierre Poilievre, who's been the leader of the Conservative Party in Canada for the last few years, is a great friend of our community. Been to Israel many times, connects very, meaningfully with the Jewish community. His deputy leader is my member of parliament for Thornhill, a Jewish lady by the name of Melissa Lantzman, who
Again, we could definitely talk about the good forces, but
I think it's important to recognize. I think it's important to recognize the contrast. So
there are people in the comment section, and I have the same thing with Ireland. Every time I talk about Ireland, I get tons of comments of people being like, "I'm Irish, I love Israel, I hate my government." I'm sure there are millions in Canada like that. But the bottom line is that Canadian universities, Canadian press, and certainly the Canadian government has been anti-Israel. All, by the way, the former British colonies have become liberal, woke, progressive, and anti-Israel. Australia, Canada, England itself, and parts of the United States as well. There's an erosion. Okay, let me shift gears. You wrote this Facebook post. You wrote this article. You said. And I want to stress that when you say that carries a lot of weight. People know you in the community. You're an important member of the community. And so when you say that, that's like saying after 120 years of being here in Canada, we got to bust out of here. What was the reaction of the average person? What was the reaction of people who have, their businesses, their welfare, their family based in Canada, Jewish people? What was the reaction to that?
It's mixed. Let me shut this off. Sorry. It's mixed. Some people have come to me and said they agree. Much of the organized Jewish community's response has been contrary to mine. I mean, that was one of the drivers of my comment. The CJO, which is the legacy organization in Canada, the Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs, their position, and the CEO is a good guy, fairly new to the position, a good guy. His answer was, after the shul shootings, we're here and we're not going anywhere.
Right.
And I felt, as much as I respect him, I felt that was the wrong position. And that was really the impetus for me writing the article.
Well, talk that out. Talk that out for me. I want to hear that more. Somebody says to you, listen, we just got shot up in Australia. We're going to double down and hold down the fort. Jews don't run. These colors don't run. That kind of thing. What's your answer to that? Isn't that a beautiful sentiment?
It's a beautiful sentiment. And I'm a big believer in fighting for our rights. But we've been fighting for our rights for years. And for 11 years, our rights have been deteriorating. Our role, our presence in the community has been deteriorating. We've watched as our leadership has, as the political leadership doesn't care about us. At some point, you got to say, you know what, we fought this out. I'm not saying everybody's going to make Aliyah, but the idea that we're not going anywhere, that they can throw anything they want at us, and we're just going to take it. I just think is a mistake. I think we have to say, no, we're out of here. And Canada has the Canadian Jewish community has played a huge role in building this country. We've created a lot of jobs in this country, I believe, way out of the proportion to our population. We built a lot of institutions, hospitals, universities, things like that here. You don't get the benefit of our presence here and ignore and betray us. It doesn't work that way.
Wow.
And these aren't 1930s. This isn't 1930s Berlin. Thank God we have a place to go. And, people aren't ready to make Aliyah. I mean, my recommendation to everybody, if they can, is to make Aliyah. But if they can't, Florida beckons. I don't know if you've been to Florida lately. It's terrific.
Yeah, but Florida's time. By the way, there's a guy running for governor of Florida, Republican, big anti-Israel guy.
Again, my recommendation to people is that they make Aliyah. That's where the Jewish people belong. I felt that my whole life. I've been a Zionist my whole life.
Larry, how long have you owned property in the land of Israel?
Over 20 years.
Now, this is my point. I say to people a lot of times, the word Aliyah is very scary. They have their businesses, they have their this, that, they have their mother living in Canada or in Toronto or whatever it is. I say to people, get an apartment, buy a piece of property. Aliyah is a big word, but getting a piece of property is doable. And then your kids, I know your kids live in that apartment, right? or lived, whatever it is.
No, yeah, yeah. We have
My
kids living
point
in
is-
we have kids living in Israel, and I think the message that people think, well, owning an apartment in Jerusalem is so expensive in downtown Jerusalem, and my answer to that is, you don't have to own an apartment in downtown Jerusalem.
Right.
I live in Thornhill. I don't live in downtown Toronto.
Right.
Our home in Israel today is in Yad Binyamin. It's not in Jerusalem, because Yad Binyamin is like Thornhill, closer to the beach, though. Own property in Israel, wherever it is. That's my recommendation to people.
Right. That's right. Mm-hmm. Wow. What did the great Rabbi Korobkin and people like that? What did they say? Was it to
Rabbi
them?
Korobkin's been on the same page for a long time, to his credit. He has announced that he's making Aliyah next summer, in 2027. And he said months ago that he assumes that every member of his community has a plan. So he's been there. He's there already.
I love what you said before. I love what you said. You said something so special. We have created so much opportunity, wealth, infrastructure in this country. We're a benefit to this country. You don't get to have us, which is a blessing, in Canada, and at the same time not care about us, or actually actively not care about us and allow us to be endangered. I mean, these shootings at 3 synagogues, today it's a shooting at the synagogue building. Tomorrow it's a big fat attack inside the building, right?
Could be. What happened at Bondi could have happened in Thornhill.
Let's just watch a little bit of video just to get a sense a little bit about what it looks like in Canada right now.
Doing is more broadly gaining traction. And I'm not just talking about the camps, Nicole. I'm talking about a more comprehensive, structural, relatively well thought out strategic effort to not just make Jewish life in the West intolerable, but to snuff it out entirely. And to really, and this is really at the heart of the camp issue, to reframe and recast Jewish identity into the future. And so I think it's great that the umbrella organization came out with such strong language condemning this effort, but this is just one piece of a bigger picture. And I keep telling people right now, this is pretty indicative of the fact that Jewish life in Canada and elsewhere throughout the West is really, really under attack.
Casey's bang on, Yishai.
Okay, so tell me about what this camp issue is, and he says, like you, it's become intolerable to live in Canada.
So the camp issue is that the anti-Israel, anti-Semitic mob is suggesting that Jewish camps are beyond the pale because they are supportive of Israel and because they're Zionistic.
Right.
But this is like Casey said it on that video. This is indicative of so many things. We've had Jewish charities losing their charter, ability to grant tax receipts because of their association with Israel, where in the investigation process we learned that the Canadian government had taken evidence in Ramallah against the charity, where the Canada Revenue Agency was not ready to hear to play fair with the Jewish charities pretty clearly because of their association with Israel. So then we have a website that tracks people who have served in the IDF, who live in Canada. The Canadian government doesn't want to do anything about that. Blatant, ongoing intimidation and harassment of the Jewish community. And now we're getting shot at. When we have our annual walk for Israel, which traditionally was like one of the largest walks, I understand, or marches for Israel in the world. And we're now forced to walk through a crowd of people yelling at us that we're baby killers, that we, clearly intended to intimidate us. I'll give you another example. Since October 7th, there's been a brave group of people who have demonstrated at the corner of Shepherd and Bathurst, right in the heart of the Jewish community, on behalf of Israel. And across the street every week, there's a crowd of people who are protesting against Israel. And while our side is waving Israeli and Canadian flags and just showing support for Israel, the other side is intending to intimidate us. So they even had a couch with a guy dressed up as Yishai Sinwar sitting on the couch. And the police have protected them. Very often, if anyone got arrested, it was the Jews. We even had an incident where there was a demonstration in the middle of the Jewish community, and the police were caught on camera bringing coffee and donuts to the anti-Israel, anti-Semitic protesters. And the mayor of Toronto has been as bad or worse than anybody. She accused Israel of genocide, which we all know is ridiculous, and this is the condition that the Jewish community is facing.
And this was already building up in the university level for years and years. When was this whole thing at what was that university called? When like Bibi couldn't speak there. It's in Montreal. Concordia.
Concordia, right? Concordia, right?
Concordia. So yeah, I was there. I went to
glass.
Right. I was there. I went to visit soon afterwards, and then I went to Carleton, and I was like, whoa, this place is like seeped in anti-Israel, pro-Palestine, so-called, jihadist rhetoric. And now
there's one other aspect of this we haven't discussed, and that's the Canadian media, led by CBC, the Canada Broadcasting Corporation, which is a crown corporation that gets about $1.5 billion a year from the federal government, our taxpayer money, and their coverage of the Middle East is so slanted. Luckily, we have a Canadian branch of Honest Reporting here that tracks them, and it's horrendous that this is where our tax dollars are going. That where Israel is painted as this genocidal state, that it's terrible, and the other legacy media isn't much better. And then, of course, we have what's going on the online on social media that is affecting us both on the right and the left, tragically.
Okay. Listen, Larry, I got my next guest coming in, very important guest, but I want to really thank you for coming on. I just want to finish up with one last question. The situation is tough for Jews. You could feel it in the media, in the government, on the streets. Bullets are being shot. Larry Zeifman writes an article saying, hey, guys, maybe it's time to give up on this project. It's time to go to the next project, which is Jerusalem and Israel, building up the land of Israel. This is our time. We're being called. I've been here for 120 years. It's time to move on. People are reacting a certain way. What do you see as the next step? Do you see just a slow erosion? Do you see people heeding the call? Do you see, Canada is telling you, leave. We don't want your kind, right? They're saying that, in other words, right? What do you see happening in the next few years?
No, my crystal ball's not working all that well, Yishai, unfortunately. But I hope that people are waking up. I think that elements of the community are waking up. We are seeing people, vote with their feet, and that's a good thing. And hopefully, maybe we'll see some change on the political front. We had a development this weekend. If you got a minute, let me tell you this.
Go ahead.
The Premier of Ontario, who's he's a supposed conservative, actually, came to the shul Friday morning for a meeting, brought some of his ministers, and after that put out a very sensitive video about his concerns about anti-Semitism. Yesterday, that was on Friday. Yesterday was the scheduled day for Al-Quds Day. And Al-Quds Day in Toronto has been a hate fest. against Israel and the Jewish people every year for years. So he announced that he's so upset with anti-Semitism, he's bringing a petition for an injunction against Al-Quds Day. Unfortunately, he filed it Friday afternoon or Saturday morning, and the chance of that petition being successful were basically zero. So now there's a debate going on in the community, whether that was his intention from the beginning, to be able to say he did something when he didn't, or he really has a change of heart. I'd love to see that he has a change of heart. I'm not holding my breath, but I'd love to see it. If the result of this is that people start to wake up and they either move or they have some success at the political level, I'm not optimistic about the federal level until there's a successful election, but maybe we have some success on the provincial level. As I say, I'm not holding my breath. But
the greatest success for the Jewish people is the building of Yerushalayim. We've been waiting for this opportunity for thousands of years. It's happening now. We need those Canadian Jews. They're strong. They're smart. They've got it going on. And okay, if Canada's squeezing them out, then we want the blessing. We'll take the blessing of Canadian Jews here in the land of Israel. Larry Zeifman, I've got to let you go, and I want to thank you so much for being with us. You, of course,
Yishai, in my heart, I'm with you. With my most of my feet, I'm with you. I've gotten it luckily for a long time. Right. I hope my fellow Canadian Jews will follow.
That's right. Larry, you're a Toronto accountant. You come to Israel every single year. You're the past president of Bet Avraham Yosef of Toronto Congregation, which is the Beit in Thornhill. And you've been active for 30 years in Israel, pro-Israel advocacy, including being a member of Prime Minister Harper's delegation to Israel in 2014. Thank you very much for your courage. And thank you for coming on to discuss the sensitive topic. God bless you. And hope to see you here soon, along with many more Canadian Jews.
Israel.
All right, folks, you are listening to the Yishai Fleischer Show. Yishai TV is where it's at. What a pleasure and honor it is to be with you. Next up right now, we have a very special guest, and that is Eliyahu Yossian. Eliyahu Yossian is one of the most colorful and interesting personalities in Israel and one of the smartest. He's a former officer in the IDF's Unit 8200, Israel's elite signals and cyber intelligence unit. He served there for 15 years in various operational and intelligence roles. During his service, he received the Israel Security Award, which is one of the highest honors that they grant folks in the defense industry and the defense establishment. Today, he's an analyst specializing in Iran and the Middle East. He's a regular commentator on Channel 14, one of Israel's major national television news channels. Everybody in Israel knows him. He is just a kind of personality that is part of the discussion that we have here in Israel. And there's absolutely no serious discussion about Iran that doesn't happen without him. Eliyahu Yossian, shalom.
שלום וברכה.
אני רואה שאתה ממש עכשיו בסטודיו. I see that you're in a beautiful studio now.
עוד זה בהתחלה בחיתולים, אנחנו עובדים על זה עם הצוות.
Okay, he says it's in diapers, but they're moving ahead. וכל הכבוד, זה נראה ממש טוב, יפה מאוד. אוקיי, מר יוסיאן, לפני שאני שואל אותך שאלות ספציפיות, שאלה כללית. Before I ask you specific questions, general question. Give me a sense, תן לי תחושה של מה הולך באיראן. איך האיש או אישה איראנית מרגישים עכשיו? How does the Iranian man or woman feel right now? איך המלחמה הזאת הולכת? How is this war going? אתה מסכים איתי, you agree with me, שלא כל כך פשוט להבין מה באמת הולך. It's not simple to understand what's really going on. So, Eliyahu Yossian, the floor is yours. הבמה שלך, איך אתה רואה את הדברים? How do you see the things? בבקשה.
תלוי מאיזה זווית מסתכלים.
Depends on which angle you're looking at.
בואו נתחיל מהזירה הפנימית.
Let's start from the internal. פנימית איראנית או פנימית ישראלית?
זירה פנימית איראנית.
Okay, let's first look from an internal Iranian perspective. בבקשה.
מצד אחד, תומכי משטר היום ומספר ימים האחרונים הם ברחובות ומביעים תמיכה וסולידריות מוחלטת עם המשטר האיראני.
Okay, so the pro-regime people are out in the streets right now and are showing total deference and support of the Iranian regime.
וזה מדובר לא רוצה להגיד מיליונים כי אין לי מספרים, אבל מאות אלפים.
We're talking about hundreds of thousands of people. He says, I don't have numbers, but we're talking about a lot of people that are pro-regime. They're out in the streets right now.
זה היה בפודקאסט הראשון שלנו, שאני אמרתי צריכים לדעת בכלל את אחוזי התמיכה של המשטר בתוך איראן, כי זה נושא מאוד חשוב. 20-30% מהעם בתוך איראן, מסיבות דתיות, אידיאולוגיות, הם תומכים באופן מובהק במשטר האיראני, והם עכשיו ברחובות.
So he says, Eliyahu says that he had been on my podcast previously, and there we discussed how important it is to understand how many people are actually pro-regime, and he says that number is probably 20 to 30% are either ideologically or religiously aligned with the regime. Okay, 20-30%, כן?
20-30% הם המתנגדים, שהיום כבר אחרי פעם אחרונה שנהרגו 43,000 מהם, כבר אין להם אומץ לצאת לרחובות.
So, לא, עכשיו זה האנשים שברחוב עכשיו הם בעד. זאת אומרת,
נכון, אז איפה המתנגדים? ברחובות. למה ברחובות? בבתים המתנגדים. למה בבתים? כי פעם אחרונה נהרגו 43,000 מהם.
Okay, so he says, but so if all the anti-regime people, if all the pro-regime people are in the streets, where's all the anti-regime people? And he says the answer to that is, last time they came out, 43,000 is the number that he's using, that Eliyahu Yossian is using. 43,000 were murdered in the streets. Now they're sitting at home afraid to go out.
מפעם הקודמת שנהרגו.
כן, כן.
ו-40% באמצע שתמיד הם הרוב הדומם.
And then מה אמרת? מה אחוז?
הרוב הדומם, הרוב שאין לו צד, לא פה ולא שם.
He said, but the majority has neither side, neither pro or against. They're just silent. The silent majority are indeed silent. כן?
בואו נדבר על הזירה במבט החיצוני.
Now let's look חיצוני, דהיינו.
מבחוץ.
Okay, so now let's look at the perspective from the outside. כן?
למדינת ישראל ולארצות הברית יש הצלחות מרשימות במובן המודיעיני והצבאי. אין עוררין על זה.
There's no doubt that both Israel and the United States have impressive success in both military and intelligence successes and capabilities. כן?
אפשר להגיד בגדול, למשטר האיראני אין לו יכולת להילחם במובן המודרני. מטוסים, חיל האוויר, חיל ים, חיל רגלי. המשטר האיראני במובן של מלחמה מודרנית הוא מנוטרל.
Okay, so in a big picture, the Iranian army, navy, and otherwise doesn't have the capability to fight a modern warfare against the United States and Israel, who are fighting with very modern weapons. So the Iranian regime does not have that capacity.
עכשיו נשאלת השאלה מה מטרת המלחמה.
Now the question, של מי? של אמריקאים וישראלים?
אמת.
Okay, so now the question is we're going to ask the question, what are the goals of the war of the Americans and the Israelis?
אם מטרת המלחמה היא לפי הדרישות של טראמפ בתחילת המלחמה, 1. ניטרול מיליציות, 2. ניטרול יכולת טילים, 3. גרעין, אם זאת המטרה.
עוד פעם אחת, אם זה?
ניטרול מיליציות, טילים, יכולת הטילים ויכולת הגרעין.
Okay, so is it the three capacities of the Iranian war machine? Is it to neutralize the three capacities? The proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, the missiles, the missile operation, or the stoppage of the Iranian nuclear ambitions? Those are the three. Okay, Ken?
אם זאת מטרת המלחמה, אם 1. חמאס עדיין חי וקיים.
If those are the goals of the war, then Hamas is still, the proxy Hamas is still alive. בבקשה.
חזבאללה עדיין חיה וקיימת, רק ימים האחרונים 100 טילים וקטיושות שיגרה לישראל בתיאום מול המשטר האיראני.
Okay, so Hamas is alive and well. Hezbollah has just shot 100 missiles in coordination with the Iranian regime.
השתול שעביה בעיראק עדיין חי וקיים.
The Iraqi terrorist organizations are also alive and well.
חוסים בתימן עדיין חי וקיים.
The Houthis are still operating. And so all these militia groups or these proxy groups are still very much active.
אני מודע שחמאס וחזבאללה הם חלשים מאוד ביחס ללפני 7/10, אבל זה רק עניין של זמן כדי להשתפר בעוד כמה שנים. היום הם חלשים, אבל עדיין קיימים.
Hezbollah and Hamas are certainly weaker than after the October 7th, after Israel's pummeled them, but they're still alive. It's a matter of time for them to get strong again.
בנוגע ליכולת טילים, הם נפגעו בצורה טוטלית.
Okay, but with regarding to the creation, the building of missiles, of rockets against Israel and the Gulf states, they've been struck with a total strike against them, meaning to say a successful campaign that has neutralized the missile creation capability. Ken?
ובנוגע ליכולת גרעינית, בכלל לא חשוב, בסיום קדנציה של טראמפ, הם יכולים לרכוש פצצות אטום לצורך הדוגמת צפון קוריאה.
With regarding to nuclear weapons, they will still, at the end of this war, have maybe the capacity to purchase a nuclear weapon, for example, from North Korea.
רק אני מזכיר, בקדנציה הראשונה של טראמפ, סעודיה התכוונה לרכוש פצצות אטום מפקיסטן.
You remember that...
ממנה בגלל שטראמפ התערב.
You recall that the Saudis wanted to purchase actually nuclear weapons from the Pakistanis, but the only reason that was stopped is because Trump got involved.
אז כל אחד עכשיו יכול לקחת לכיוון שלו, האם יותר הצלחה זה עם ישראל או ארצות הברית, או יותר הצלחה זה עם משטר האיראני. זה תמונת המצב.
עוד פעם, המשפט האחרון, מה יותר הצלחה?
כל אחד יכול לקחת לכיוון שלו, האם משטר האיראני יותר הצליח בשלב הנוכחי, או ישראל או ארצות הברית. אבל זאת תמונת המצב.
Okay, so he says, so Eliyahu Yossian says, one could judge the success from their perspective. One could say, look, Iran is still holding on, and in a sense they're victorious because all of their proxies are still alive and they still have capacities. Or one could say that the U.S.-Israel force is certainly the successful one. It's destroying the infrastructure, the rocket infrastructure. It's a matter of perspective who's winning this war. Okay. אבל מה באמת?
אני מגיע לזה. אני בינתיים בונה את השטח.
כן, בבקשה. He says, I asked him, what's the big picture? What's the truth? He says, I'm building it. We'll keep going. בבקשה.
אם אני אגיד מה דעתי בהתחלה, אז הוא יגידו לו, מה פתאום, איך יכול להיות? אז לאט לאט.
He says, let's take it slowly, because if I say what my opinion is right from the get-go, you might not believe me. I'm trying to build the intellectual framework. בבקשה.
אם המטרה היא להפיל את המשטר האיראני, אז תלוי מה המשמעות, שהמשטר האיראני לא יהיה, ומחר תהיה טיסה מישראל לאיראן, ויהיה מועדונים ופאפים וברים, ולא יהיה חיג'אב, זו המשמעות של הפלת המשטר?
What does it mean?
משתמש בזה?
What does it mean to get rid of the regime? Does that mean that there's going to be flights to Tehran, that there's going to be bars in Tehran, that it's going to be a normal relationship, and that women won't have to be forced to wear a hijab? Is that what it means to get rid of the Iranian regime?
אם זאת הכוונה, אז יש לנו עוד הרבה דרך, והמון סיבות שאני מנסה רק לתת כותרות, ואולי ננתח את זה ביחד.
Okay, so if that's the goal, then there's still a long way to get there, and I'll give headlines with regarding to that mission. כן.
היום באיראן יש 1,000,000 חמושים, אם זה משמרות המהפכה, בסיג', כוחות קוץ, לובשי מדים או מתנדבים. יש 1,000,000 חמושים באיראן.
There's today 1,000,000 armed fighters of various kinds, Besiege, IRGC, Quds Force, other ones, and even volunteers, basically arms carrying folks, usually in uniform.
לצד זה המשטר האיראני התחיל לחמש את התומכים שלו גם. זאת אומרת, יש מעל מיליון חמושים, מספר לא ידוע.
Now the Iranian regime is actually giving out arms to any pro-regime folks in the streets, and so now that number has grown over 1 million.
הם לא יתאדו. הם
They're
בשקט.
not going to disappear. They're not going to just evaporate.
מספר 2, נכון שאמרתי למשטר האיראני אין יכולת להילחם בצורה מודרנית.
I've said that the Iranian regime does not have the ability to fight a modern warfare, on the one hand.
מה שכן, למשטר האיראני היום יש יכולת למלחמה פרטיזנית.
But it does have the ability to fight a, how is it called? A partisan war, a guerrilla war. מלחמת גרילה בעצם, נכון?
נכון.
אפשר להגיד את זה ככה, כן. A guerrilla war against its enemies. It may not have the ability to fight a big war, but a little stinging war it can.
לצורך הדוגמה, שימוש בהמון כטב"מים מאוד זולים לפגוע בספינות נפט.
Okay, the ability to use drones to strike at oil tankers is a cheap and readily available way of fighting.
לצורך הדוגמה, שפיכת מוקשי ים במיצר ההורמוז ולחסום את המיצר הזה.
Okay, or putting in tons of sea mines, naval mines in the Straits of Hormuz, and just right there blocking the passage of the ships. That's a cheap and easy way to fight.
מה שכן, עכשיו מיצר הורמוז יחסית הוא סגור, חסום. בגלל זה גם האמריקאים מעבירים כוחות לאסוף את המוקשים האלה.
Right now, the Hormuz Strait, says Eliyahu Yossian, is more than partially closed, and the Americans are now moving in ships in order to clear those mines.
לצורך הדוגמה, להפציץ את מתקני התפלת מים של סעודיה.
Another thing they could do is bomb the desalinization plants of Saudi Arabia. It's an easy way to strike.
עכשיו, מה המשמעות של דבר הזה? אחד, מלחמה מאוד זולה מבחינת תמחור עבור המשטר האיראני.
Okay, what does this mean? It means that there's a cheap alternative, a cheap way to fight a painful war for the Iranian regime.
2, מלחמת התשה אינסופית עבור המשטר האיראני.
Okay, and they are able to, in this way, make an endless war of attrition. ככה אומרים, מלחמת התשה, war of attrition against their enemies. So the Iranian regime has that option, that capacity. כן.
מצד שני, מלחמה מאוד יקרה לטובת ארצות הברית והעולם.
Okay, but this war would be a very expensive one on the American side, fighting the cheap Iranian war with a very expensive, high-tech, big military operation. כן.
לצורך הדוגמה, בשבוע האחרון, הביטוח של ספינות הנפט קפצו פי 4 יותר, 400% יותר.
Okay, for example, he says just the insurance on insuring ships coming through the Persian Gulf have jumped up by 400%. It's massive costs.
לצורך הדוגמה, כל חבית נפט יכול להגיע חצה את 100, יכול להגיע גם ל$200 לאורך הזמן.
A barrel of oil has now crossed the $100 per barrel and could easily cross even the $200 per barrel.
לצורך הדוגמה, התקפת מתקני התפלת מים של סעודיה גורם לסעודים להישאר ללא מי שתייה תוך שבוע וחצי או שבועיים.
The Saudis would be out of water within 2 weeks if the Iranians would bomb their desalinization plants. And we are speaking with Eliyahu Yossian, Iranian-born Israeli researcher, commentator, specializing in Iranian and Middle East security, extensive service in the IDF elite unit 8200, which is the famous intelligence unit, and a recipient of the Israel Defense Award. Ken.
אני רק דיברתי מצד מיצרי הורמוז.
Right, I was just talking about the Hormuz Straits.
בוא נעבור למיצרי באב אל-מנזב, שהם תחת איום של החוסים.
So there's another set of straits, right? If you curve around if you come out of the Persian Gulf and you want to come into the Red Sea, so to get to the Suez Canal or to get to Aqaba or Eilat, then you have to pass the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. The Bab el-Mandeb Strait is also under threat now by the Houthis, a Yemeni proxy of Iran. Okay.
כמובן אני יודע, חוסים עוד לא התחילו את המשחק.
The
אבל אני
Houthis have not
מדבר על
started playing.
הפוטנציאל.
They have not started playing the game, but they definitely have the potential.
אותו משחק גם שם, הם יכולים לשפוך מוקשי ים ולסגור את מיצרי באב אל-מנדב.
Okay, so they could put out these naval mines and close those straits as well. They have that capacity.
הם יכולים לתקוף את שדות הנפט של סעודיה.
They could also attack the Yemeni oil fields.
יש יכולת של 20% הוצאת נפט ממיצרי הורמוז, ובערך עוד 15% מבאב אל-מנדב. זאת אומרת, 35% מהמיצרים שעוברים דרכם נפט לאירופה, ארצות הברית ולעולם, יהיו תחת איום מוחלט.
Combined, he says that the Persian, the Iranians, and the Houthis can block up to 35% of global oil shipping, which goes to the United States and to Europe.
עכשיו המשטר האיראני אומר דבר אחד ואני מצטט אותם במדויק.
Now the Iranian regime says the following, and I'm quoting them exactly.
הם באים ואומרים, אנחנו לא רוצים הפסקת אש.
They say we don't want a ceasefire. We're not interested
אין
in a
לנו שום
ceasefire.
עניין גם לסיים את המלחמה.
We're not interested in stopping this war at all, says the Iranian regime.
הדרישה שלנו שכוחות אמריקאים יצאו ממזרח התיכון.
Our demand is that the American forces leave the Middle East.
הם באים ואומרים 50 שנה אנחנו היינו תחת סנקציות.
For the last 50 years, we've been under sanctions.
אנחנו יודעים מה זה יוקר מחיה.
We know what it is to live under expensive living. We know how to live under a tough economic regime.
אנחנו יודעים מה זה מחסור במוצרי מזון.
We know what it's like to not have all the food stuffs that we'd like to have. We're used to that.
עכשיו בוא נראה את עולם הליברל כמה הוא יחזיק מעמד.
Let's see the West and the liberal world, how long they're going to withstand not having all their goodies, all their physical things, all their material things. Let's see them starve in a sense and not have all the stuff that they're used to. Will they be able to hold up like we did?
ואני מחבר את כל האמירות שלי עכשיו לפודקאסט התוכנית הקודמת שלנו לפני המלחמה, שאמרתי ליברליזם וחיי נהנתנות זה הסכנה הראשונה על העמים ואומות.
He says, and this brings me back to what I talked about in the last podcast with you, Yishai, and that is that liberal living and together with materialism and kind of satisfying of carnal urges and immediacy of products, this is one of the real existential dangers for the liberal Western countries.
זאת הייתה הסיבה גם המלחמה בין רוסיה לאוקראינה, למרות שארצות הברית ואירופה תמכו באוקראינים, אבל נגמר לטובת הרוסים שכבשו 20% מאדמת אוקראינה, כי כוח ההישרדות שלהם במלחמה הייתה הרבה יותר גדולה.
Right. כמו שתמיד אצל הרוסים, נכון? The Russian, he says that the Ukraine-Russia war, the reason that the end of this war seems to be that Russia is going to control 20% of Ukraine is because their ability to withstand a long war is higher than the West's, America's and other supporters of Ukraine. The Russians have a longer ability to withstand war for a longer period of time. They're not as spoiled, I guess. כן.
עכשיו אני רוצה לפנות לאמריקאים בתוך ארצות הברית שבאים ואומרים טראמפ נכנס למלחמה בגלל ישראל.
Okay, I want to now turn to the Americans who are claiming that the reason that America has come into this war is because of Israel, because Israel drew them in. And that is one of the big critiques, both on the left and on the woke right, is that Israel is machinating and controlling American policy, and they drew America into this war. Ken.
עזבו לרגע את ישראל בצד.
Put Israel to the side for a second.
במזרח התיכון יש 45% מהנפט העולמי.
The Middle East
מהאנרגיה העולמית.
The Middle East contains 45% of the world's energy, oil and gas.
שזה תחת איום של המשטר האיראני.
And now it's under threat by the Iranian regime.
מפרץ הפרסי ובאב אל-מנדב כמעט 25% ממיצרים הימיים גם תחת איום של המשטר האיראני.
25% of these straits, of global water straits that control this energy, is under the threat of the Iranian regime. Both the Persian, the Hormuz Straits and the Bab el-Mandeb Straits. These are both under the potential control of this foe.
עכשיו אתם צריכים להחליט, אתם רוצים להישאר מעצמה עולמית, או אתם רוצים לסגור את הבסטה מול המשטר האיראני?
So the West, you have to decide, do you want to remain a superpower, or do you want to close the store before bow down to the Iranian regime? It's simple math. Do you want to be under their control?
יכול להיות תהיה טענה של החלק הדמוקרטי בארצות הברית שאומרים אני לא רוצה שאיפות אימפריאליסטיות.
Maybe within the American left, the Democratic left, there's some elements that say we don't want imperialistic yearnings anymore. We want to kind of shrink into ourselves.
אני מכיר את הטענה הזאת.
I'm familiar with this claim.
אוקיי, אז אתם צריכים לסגור ולצאת ממזרח התיכון. ובמקום זה רוסיה וסין נכנסים הקומוניסטים.
Okay, so then therefore you have to close the store, get out of the Middle East, and then let Russia and China take over this whole region, and let the communists take over.
ואז הקומוניסטים יחד משטר האיראני תופסים לכם את הביצים.
Okay, and then the
לתרגם בדיוק, לא יודע אם יש באנגלית, אבל
יש באנגלית. יש באנגלית, אם אתה רוצה בתרגום מדויק, אני אעשה את זה, okay? This is a family channel, but he asked me to translate this directly, and he said, מי אמרת? תאמר שוב?
שהעולם הקומוניסטי יחד המשטר האיראני תופסים אתכם בביצים.
He says the communist world together with the Iranian regime will grab you by the balls. That's what he says. Okay, that's a family channel, but that's what he said.
נכון שהאינטרס הישראלי משתלב עם האינטרס האמריקאי מול המשטר האיראני. נכון.
עוד פעם? האינטרס
שהאינטרס הישראלי עכשיו משתלב עם האינטרס האמריקאי מול המשטר האיראני. זה ברור לי.
Right. Today, the Israeli interest lines up perfectly with the American interests, right? Even though they're totally different. One, Israel wants to have safety, and America wants to have control of this energy. These are two different interests. Today, they line up perfectly. I understand that, says Yossian.
אבל יש עיקרון יותר גדול מזה. האם אתם רוצים להיות תחת שליטה קומוניסטי איראני, או אתם רוצים להישאר מעצמה?
Right, but there's a bigger issue at play here. Do you want to be under the control of the Iranians and the communists, or do you want to be a global superpower? You have to decide that. I think what he's trying to say to us is that those people who claim that Israel is pulling America to the war, that's silly. There isn't a real American interest here that's happening. Okay.
כי אם אתם תאבדו את המקום הראשון שלכם,
if you lose your status as a superpower, your first placeness,
אז מאי ברירה, כל המדינות הערביות המפרציות חייבות להתיישר עם הקומוניסטים והמשטר האיראני.
The Gulf states will have to align themselves with China, Russia, and Iran. They'll just have to. There will be a power vacuum, and they'll have to side with that whole axis.
זאת אומרת, אתם לא תהיו מעצמה שנייה. אתם לא תהיו יותר מעצמה.
You won't be a second-rate superpower. You won't be a superpower.
עזבו לרגע את האינטרס שלי כישראלי.
leave to the side my personal interest as an Israeli.
לכן אם מישהו אמריקאי לא רוצה להיות תחת סחיטה קומוניסטי משטר האיראני, הוא חייב, אך ורק חייב, לנצח את המשטר האיראני במלחמה הזאת.
If you don't want to be under Chinese, Russian, communist plus Iranian rule, we have to, the United States, has to defeat the Iranian regime in this war.
ואני
נו,
מחזיר...
כן, עכשיו אתה שמת אותנו בניגוד, כן? מצד אחד אתה אומר שאמרת לנו שיש קושי בלנצח אותם, ועכשיו אתה אומר לנו שאנחנו חייבים לנצח אותם.
תתרגם את זה, בבקשה.
So I said, you have put us now in a kind of conflict. You've said to us, Eliyahu Yossian, that we going to have a hard time defeating them because they have all these other ways of continuing a small and painful war and war of attrition. And then you said to us in the latter part, we must defeat them. The United States and Israel has to defeat the Iranian regime. So I said, you've put us into a kind of, your words bring to an internal conflict. What's the answer?
אני רציתי שתגיע לנקודה הזאת.
I wanted you to
לכן
come
אני
to such a place.
מתכנן.
Bevakasha. And therefore, that was the groundwork that I wanted to lay down. And you asked the correct question. כן.
עכשיו, אם אנחנו ישראל, בהובלת ארצות הברית, רוצים לנצח את המשטר האיראני, אי אפשר להילחם בסגנון הזה שאתם ראיתם בשבועיים האחרונות.
Okay. If Israel and the United States, or the United States and Israel, wants to defeat the Iranian regime, we cannot be victorious fighting the way that we've been fighting in the last a little bit over 2 weeks.
היעדים הכלכליים של המשטר האיראני חייבים להפוך ליעדים צבאיים.
Okay. The economic targets, and we'll talk about that in a second, of Iran have to become now military targets.
לקחת מהם את הנפט ואת הגז.
You have to take from them...
מהתזרים הכספי.
מהמה הכספי?
לנתק אותם מהתזרים הכספי.
You have to take away from them the gas and the oil and to disconnect them from the flow, the economic flow, the financial flow.
שאני אומר לנתק, יכול לפרש את זה להפציץ את כל שדות נפט וגז של המשטר האיראני.
You could understand what I'm saying to mean to blow up and to bomb all the oil fields of Iran.
או אפשר לבוא להגיד לכבוש את האי חרק על ידי ארצות הברית.
Or the capture of the island of Kharj, which is an island in kind of the northeastern Persian Gulf on the west coast, northern west coast of Iran. And this island, רק אולי תסביר לנו טיפה, כי אנשים לא יודעים, maybe you can explain to us just a little bit, מה זה הדבר הזה, האי חרג'? Can you explain to us a little bit what is this island? Yeah.
אי חרק, 80% מהנפט של איראן, אפילו יותר, יוצא מופק מאי חרק.
Okay, more than 80% of Iranian oil comes out of this island, okay? It's a pretty big island, but ורק שאני ידע, כי אני רוצה להבין את זה בעצמי. למה? מה קורה שם באי? What exactly happens on that island? יש
הם
שם...
מוכרים את הנפט שלהם מחרק. כל שדות הנפט זה בחרק.
The oil fields are in Kharj, and it goes onto tankers there. You could see it on the map. Look it up on the map. Maybe Yo can bring up a picture of that. But the bottom line is that this island can be taken control of. You take control of this island, you basically choke them economically. Ken.
2, להפציץ את בנק מרכזי שלהם.
להפציץ מה?
בנק מרכזי.
bomb, איך אומרים את זה באנגלית? זה מקום?
את הבנק הראשי של המשטר האיראני.
הבנק הראשי, סליחה, לא הבנתי.
לא סניפים, את הסניף הראשי שעושה את כל העברת כספים ומשכורות וכדומה.
Sorry, I understand now. He says bomb the central bank, which is the bank that is also the basically the Fed, the thing that prints the money, and and gives out the money to all of their workers. Bomb that central bank. Destroy their economic base.
להפציץ את הבורסה.
Bomb the stock market, the Iranian stock market.
איך שאתם תחשבו לנתק את המשטר האיראני מהתזרים הכספי שלו, קודם כל.
The only way to win this is to sever the connection of the Iranian regime from their financial flow. Stop the money, the flow of money of every kind. Stop that and you could defeat them. כן.
לפני כמה דקות אמרתי שהם רוצים מלחמת התשה ויוצא להם מחיר זול ויגרמו לעולם שיהיה מחיר יקר. לפני כמה דקות אמרתי.
Just a few minutes ago I said that they're ready for a cheap war of attrition and to make the Americans and the others pay a lot of money in defense. Right? I said
אבל
that.
ברגע שאין לו כסף לתחזק מיליציות, אין לו כסף לשלם משכורות לבסיס כוחות קוץ משמרות המהפכה, אין לו כסף לשלם משכורות לעם שלו, הוא מתרסק מבפנים.
If the Iranian regime doesn't have the money to pay their various militias, if it's the Basij or the RGC or various peoples, if they can't pay, they fall apart. Okay? They're going to fall apart as a regime. So you got to attack their financial wherewithal.
עוד לא שכחתי, יש מעל מיליון חמושים.
We're seeing a picture now, and thank you, Yo, of this Kharj Island. You see it. There's, by the way, the Straits of Hormuz on the right side of the screen. Okay, you see that, and it sits squarely in Iranian control. And then up in the northeast of the Persian Gulf, you see this island, and that's where the over 80% of the production of oil and gas, Iranian oil and gas, happen. Eliyahu Yossian says, seize control of this island. Seize control of the island, and he says, furthermore, bomb the financial institutions that keep the regime afloat. Ken, b'vakasha.
עוד לא שכחתי, יש מעל מיליון חמושים בתוך איראן.
Okay, there, as I said before, there's over 1 million people armed, 1 million armed fighters in Iran. Ken.
או צריך להכניס כוחות רגליים בדיוק בדומה לעיראק ואפגניסטן.
Either you put in boots on the ground like the United States did in Iraq and Afghanistan.
או צריך לחמש את המתנגדים של המשטר בתוך איראן.
Or, here's another option, arm the resistance. Arm the resistance. Give the resistance the ability to fight back against these armed million man force. כן.
לכן הסיפור הוא, האם מזרח התיכון, כולל ישראל ומפרציות, נשארים תחת הנהגת ארצות הברית, או מקפלים את האירוע מול המשטר האיראני, רוסיה וסין?
עוד פעם, מה ההתחלה?
לכן הסיפור המלחמה הזאת, האם מפרציות, מדינות ערב במזרח התיכון וישראל, נשארות תחת הנהגת ארצות הברית כי הוא הבוס במזרח התיכון, או נותרים למשטר האיראני לנצח?
So Eliyahu Yossian says it's very simple. It's very simple math. Either the United States defeats the Iranian regime through these means, or we allow Russia, China, and Iran to control the Middle East and certainly take control of the Gulf states that will necessarily have to line up with the Iranian regime, without a doubt. So it's really it's the way he's putting it. It's just a global balance. Either America stays a superpower, pushes back on Iran, China, and Russia, controls this, and here's the way to do it, or you shrink, you become a non-superpower, you allow the communists and the jihadists, the Shiite jihadists, to take control. Ken.
ועכשיו עמדו של אליהו יוסיאן.
Okay, and now the position of Eliyahu Yossian. Here's his personal position. Ken.
אני מאמין שחייב לנצח את המשטר האיראני בכל מחיר.
I believe that we have to defeat the Iranian mullah regime at any price.
בכלל לא משנה לי מה המחיר.
I don't care what the price is.
בכלל לא משנה לי כמה זמן זה לוקח.
Doesn't matter at all, in my opinion, how long it will take.
בכלל לא משנה לי מה העלות.
I don't care what the cost is.
כי פשוט מאוד אני לא רוצה להעביר את המזרח התיכון להובלת המשטר האיראני יחד עם רוסיה וסין.
I don't want to see, it's very simple, I don't want to see the Middle East fall to the control of the Iranian regime together with China and Russia.
לכן שבועיים הראשונים של המלחמה במובן הצבאי, המודיעיני, במובן הטקטי, היה בסדר גמור.
The tactical war, the intelligence gathering of the first 2 weeks has been fine, has been excellent. Good job.
אבל במובן האסטרטגי, הוי ואבוי לנו אם אנחנו נסתפק בזה.
But on the strategic level, God forbid we should be satisfied with these successes. This is not the end by any means.
עד כאן.
יפה, אוקיי. הבנו 100%. עכשיו, אליהו יוסיאן, thank you very much for giving us a very clear picture. תודה שנתת לנו תמונה מאוד בהירה. עכשיו, שאלה יותר קטנה ומאוד טקטית, a much more tactical question. היום, האיראנים העבירו מידע גדול שנתניהו נהרג. There's been a big message sent out through the social media that Netanyahu is dead. ונתניהו מעביר סרטון, מראה את עצמו חי וקיים, שותה קפה ומראה לנו את כל 10 אצבעות. קודם כל, מה זה העניין הזה של 10 אצבעות? ומה זה המלחמה המצחיקה הזאת? Why did he show us the 10 fingers? What is this funny war? אתה מת, לא אתה מת, מה העניין הזה? What is this deal? Why are they playing this small game? למה הם משחקים את המשחק הקטן הזה? מה זה?
המשטר האיראני, או המשטרים הטוטליטריים, תמיד היה להם חשוב לפ ומלט, לוחמה פסיכולוגית ומלחמה תודעתית.
The totalitarian states have always made it a priority to fight psychological warfare and consciousness warfare.
הם זורקים 1000 בולשיטים.
Okay, they throw out 1,000 lies. כן.
מתוך 1000 בולשיטים, תמיד 15 מתוכם זה אמת.
From 1,000 lies, 15 are actually true.
ואז באים ואומרים, תסתכלו 15 אמת, את השאר, האויב לא רוצה להגיד לכם את האמת.
So they say, you see, these 15 things are true. The rest, the enemy, i.e., Israel and America, don't want to admit it.
העולם גם הוא שוכח מהר מאוד.
The world forgets very quickly.
אצלנו אפילו היהודים יש אלה ששכחו את הולוקוסט.
There's even amongst Jews folks who have forgotten what the Holocaust really is.
אז העולם
and how it really worked.
אז העולם
אולי אני רק אדייק בשביל אנשים, I'm just going to sharpen it. When he says that we don't remember the Holocaust, it also means the tactics of the Holocaust. אני אומר, זה גם הטקטיקות של השואה. היו הרבה מהדברים האלה, זה מה שאתה רוצה לומר. There was a lot of tactics in this Holocaust that are being used again and again.
הם משחקים בדיוק את אותו משחק.
They're playing that same game.
לצורך הדוגמה, הם משדרים 1000 סרטונים שישראל נהרסת. הרס וחורבן טוטלי.
They show 1,000 videos that Israel is being totally demolished and destroyed.
מתוך 1000 סרטונים האלה, 150 סרטונים זה אמיתי לקחו מתקשורת הישראלית.
Okay, out of 1,000 videos, 150 are actually accurate. That missiles struck and there's some destruction on the ground that they took from Jewish Israeli media.
אז 850 אחרים שזה בולשיט, באים ומספרים שישראל לא מדברת את האמת. תסתכלו, את 150 הראשונים אמרנו את האמת.
Okay, so they showed the other 850. They say, you see, the enemy is hiding that. The first 150 that we showed are accurate, and the rest the enemy doesn't want to show. אני מבין.
אבל ללכת על שקר כזה גדול, זה כבר מצחיק וזול.
Right, but to go to such a big lie that Netanyahu has been killed is funny and silly and also cheap. שאלו פה עכשיו, יוכבד, if you could put up that question, please, about Reza Pahlavi. שואלים פה אנשים, הם כותבים ושואלים, מה עם רזה פלאבי? האם זה דבר רציני? האם יש לזה משמעות? Is Reza Pahlavi an important element? The crown prince, the son of the Shah, or is not important? מה אתה אומר על הדבר הזה?
תלוי מה כוונת השאלה. שמה הוא יעשה? שהוא יחמש את האזרחים, הוא לא יכול. ארצות הברית צריכה לעשות את זה.
Is he going to be...
ולאשר לישראל גם לעשות את זה.
מה המשפט האחרון?
תלוי מה הם מצפים ממנו לעשות. לחמש את האזרחים איראנים הוא לא יכול. זה ארצות הברית וישראל.
He says, Reza Pahlavi is not going to arm the resistance. Who's going to arm the resistance is the US and Israel. כן.
להפציץ את מאגרי נפט, גז, בנק מרכזי ובורסה הוא לא יכול. זה ישראל וארצות הברית.
Right. Is he going to bomb the oil fields, the central bank, or the stock market? No, that's going to be Israel and the United States. Okay.
רזה פהלוי זאת סוגיה רק אחרי שהמשטר האיראני ייפול. אך ורק אחרי.
Reza Pahlavi is important after the regime falls. After the regime falls.
לכן השאלה הראשונה ששמתי על השולחן בתוכנית הזאת, אמרתי מה מטרת המלחמה.
So that's why I asked in the first place, what is the goal of the war? Okay, יש לי שאלה אישית שלי, okay? משהו שאני ממש רוצה להבין משהו. Now I have my own personal question. הרי ידענו שמיצר חורמוז זה אחד מנקודות התורפה. We knew that the Hormuz Strait was one of the most important aspects of this war. למה נתנו לצי האיראני בכלל להגיע לשם ולהתחיל לשים שם את איך זה נקרא הפצצות האלה?
מוקשי ים.
מוקשי ים. איך הם בכלל, כאילו, הייתי חושב שהאמריקאים היו מגיעים לשם, סוגרים את זה ומשריינים את הפתח, שלא תהיה שם שום בעיה. ישמרו את זה פתוח. איך זה שהם הגיעו למצב שהם נתנו למוקשי ים להגיע? I'm asking, how is it that didn't we know that the Straits of Hormuz was a key war element? How is it that the Americans didn't show up and make sure that the Hormuz Strait is open for navigation? How did it happen that suddenly there's mines in the sea? איך יכול להיות שהם הגיעו למצב שנתנו לצי האיראני לפזר מוקשי ים? איך זה יכול להיות?
שואל אותך שאלה כדי להגיע לתשובה.
Okay, I'm asking you a question to get to the answer.
זאת אומרת, אתה אומר שספינות קרב של ארצות הברית יגיעו למיצרי הורמוז?
He's asking me, are you saying that the American Navy should get to the Hormuz Straits? כן.
ואז הם מתקרבים לאיראן יותר, ויהיו תחת סכנת התקפה של איראן יותר.
And then those ships, if they indeed do that, they'll be close to Iran, and they'll be more in danger of attack. Okay.
ומה עם כטב"מים ומל"טים של המשטר האיראני שיכולים להיות כמו נקזקי עליהם?
So the Iranian regime has at their disposal drones which they could use as suicide drones, as kamikaze drones that could attack these naval vessels, American warships.
ומה עם סירות מתאבדות בלתי מאוישות של המשטר האיראני שיכולים לתקוף?
They don't only have drones, they also have sea-going boats that are remote controls that also can carry explosives and blow up American naval ships.
לכן התוכנית שלי, השיח שלי עכשיו זה היה שאמרתי האומה האמריקאית חייבת לדעת האם היא מוכנה להיות תחת השפעות של רוסיה, סין והמשטר האיראני או לא.
And that's why I said we have to ask the simple question, does the United States, are the people of the United States willing to be under the control or under the influence of the Chinese, Russians, and Iranians?
כי אם לא,
because if not,
התמיכה בטראמפ בקהילה אמריקאית חייבת להיות בגורף.
Because if not, if you do not want Chinese, Russian, Iranian control, then you've got to give the president absolute support right now. Absolute support. He needs that support to fight this war.
ואז הממשלה האמריקאית יכולה לאשר לעצמו לנצח את המשטר האיראני בכל מחיר.
If the American people would give the Trump administration full support, then the Trump administration could fight this war at all costs. That's what he's getting to the answer.
במדינת ישראל היום, אם שואלים את הישראלים, הם אומרים כמעט ללא יוצא מן הכלל. זאת המלחמה המוצדקת ביותר של בנימין נתניהו וממשלה שלו.
If you ask the average Israeli, both on the left and the right, if this war is justified, the vast majority of Israelis will tell you this is the most justified war, and we're behind the prime minister. כמו ששמענו מפי ראש האופוזיציה, right? We heard from the head of the opposition, who said, I am behind Yair Lapid said very with a lot of gusto, said, I am behind the prime minister 100%. This is the head of the opposition who hates the prime minister, and he says, I am standing you because this is a just war. כן, הוא אמר את זה בצורה מאוד פומבית, כן.
לכן לי ברור שבתור מדינת ישראל יש לי אינטרס מובהק לנצח את המשטר האיראני. ברור לי.
As an Israeli, it's obvious to me that we need to defeat the mullah Iranian regime.
אבל צריך להיות ברור גם לאומה האמריקאית, ובכלל בלי שום קשר לרפובליקנים או דמוקרטים, אם אתם רוצים להישאר כחלק מהעולם החופשי, אתם חייבים לנצח את המשטר האיראני בכל מחיר.
It has to be clear, not to me, Yossian, or to Israelis, but to the American people. If you want to stay a free people, people of liberty, not under the control of China and Russia and Iran, communism and jihadism, forget Israel. You have to back this war 100% and fight at all costs. Eliyahu, you say, Ken,
אני לא משתמש בסיסמה, את המשפט הבא, אני באמונה שלמה, אני מאמין.
Okay, I'm not just using this as a kind of phrase, but I believe the following statement with all my heart.
המלחמה הזאת ספציפית, זה מלחמה של שנינו.
This specific war is a war, both of us have great interest in this war. It's our war together.
תודה.
Eliyahu Yossian, אני רוצה ממש להודות לך. Eliyahu Yossian is a former officer in the IDF's 8200 unit. He was there for 15 years. As you could hear, he has an Iranian accent. He was born in Isfahan. He grew up in the Islamic Republic, completed 12 years of education there, then moved to Israel and became a highly decorated soldier analyst in the intelligence units, specializing in Iran, the Middle East. Now he's a commentator for Channel 14 and is really one of the voices in Israel, helping us understand the Iranian mindset and how to win. Bezrat Hashem, with the help of God, Todah Lecha, Bezrat Hashem, we will see victory. Nireh nitzachon maleh, כמו שאתה אומר. Full victory, like you're saying.
Amen. מברך את ישראל וארצות הברית. Amen ואמן.
I'm blessing Israel and the United States. Eliyahu Yossian, thank you so much for being with us. Todah Rabbah. All right, folks, we have been together now for almost 2 hours, and we're having fun. Are we having fun? Is this a special show today, or what? Are we really? We're talking about so many important things. Let's finish up a little bit with some energy. Let's finish up with a little bit of energy about the fight that we have on our hands. Let's get a Fox update and see it together here. Just get a sense for this.
Israeli security official tells Fox News they have opened what they are calling the Quds file to systematically go after this branch of Iran's IRGC across the Middle East. They have taken out 7 top officials in Lebanon, and they have destroyed, according to this official, 17 out of 20 of the cargo planes used to transport weapons and components to regional proxies. Just to give you a sense of how kinetic this is, as I was speaking with this senior Israeli security official, he updated the death toll on the ground in Lebanon, saying they had taken out a 7th top official responsible for the Air Force components to Iran's proxies. This official goes on to say that these cargo planes they used to transfer weapons into the hands of the Hezbollah and Iranian militias in Iraq for years, carrying lots of bad things on them: electronic cards, missiles, rockets, advanced missiles, ground-to-sea missiles, anti-aircraft missiles. The official goes on to talk about the intelligence gathering mechanisms and says there are new mechanisms being used in this round against Iran, saying over the past month, our intel conducted a focused effort. We call it the Quds file, and our objective was to map all the operational architecture of Iran's Quds force. Now, I asked this official how long this will go on for and how many officials they will go after. They added they are going to hunt down these members of the Quds forces across the Middle East to ensure they are not able to support these regional proxies that are continuing attacks against Israel. Even this morning, Hezbollah launching new rocket fire over the border. Guys?
All right, Trey Yanks, live for us in Tel Aviv.
Okay, thank you very much, Trey. And these are important things about striking the proxies. But we have to also do what Eliyahu Yossian says, which is engage in a real battle to cut these guys at the knees, to cut off their oil, to cut off their finances. Let's see that the super chat. Laurel Grass says, engaging broadcast as always. Thank you. We missed you this Shabbat at Fifth Avenue. I was supposed to be at Fifth Avenue Synagogue this Shabbat. I was really looking forward to it too. Hashem will bring you to us another time. Bizrat Hashem. I really, really look forward to that. I really do. I was really looking forward to connecting with the community, and I'm looking forward to still doing that coming up soon. David says, thank you for all you do. Email sent to your email. Subject, thank you. Toda rabba. Toda rabba. Thank you very much. Corey gives $20 to the Tractor Fund, where we strengthen the Israeli farmer, especially in the hilltops in Judea and Samaria. Folks, we talked a lot of tactics. We had on the situation in Canada. We had the situation with Jews building giant homes in the diaspora and not kind of seeing the changes. We had Eliyahu Yossian talking about the war. Toda rabba. But we're not going to do one interview right now, which is the interview with Hashem, with God Almighty. We have to finish off our show by thanking God for the miracles that we are witnessing. Israel is leading the fight against forces of darkness and is in relative safety. Our kids are soon going back to schools. And even when we are being bombed, we're defended by years of good policy and by God's hand that he protects the Jewish people and continues to help us thrive. And that light is coming out strong. You see, the time of war is also a time of light. When we're at war, on the one hand, people are like, oh no, it's scary. On the other hand, they're like, wow, there's a strength to Israel. God is with Israel. He's giving them this tiny state. He's giving them planes and sustenance and welfare and medical knowledge and new roads and people have faith, and they have children, and they have joy in their life, and they're building Jerusalem. That is the great time that we're living in. You see, the war against bad guys is one part of it. You got to fight the Amalekites, but the other part of it is got to receive that Torah, build that third temple. Those are actually part and parcel. And there's no question about it that when the Jewish people are under such a war, and we're seeing such miracles, at the end of this war, I promise you, you're going to see a great return to Torah, to God, to want to see God's face. And the term God's face is a term that's found in the Bible a lot. It's another way of saying God's presence. God's face is in my life. My job here as a Jew from the land of Israel, as an Israelite, is to send you blessings to all those who are blessing us. If you are blessing Israel, I'm sending you blessings back. That's the deal. We're sending blessings to the nations that want to see God's face. Do you want to see God's face in your life? Look towards Israel. Pray towards Jerusalem. That's the way to do it. I want to give you the option, the opportunity to be part of it. Please like, subscribe, comment. It's good for that thing called the algorithm, okay? Algorithm. It's a very important thing to penetrate the algorithm. If you hit like, there's more likelihood that some kid in college is going to get this video and is going to love Israel. That's the easiest way to support Israel, is to hit like on my show. I'm telling you, it's not for me. It's not for my channel and all that. It's for that kid to penetrate his feed. And when the YouTube algorithm sees that, they're going to believe that the system is going to make it believe that kid needs to see this thing. So that's very important. So like, subscribe, comment. Please do that now. And don't forget to also support the show. Supporting the show is easy with our new website that we're so proud of, buildisrael.com, because we believe in building Israel together. You can be a builder of Israel. Buildisrael.com. Go to buildisrael.com, support it. Connect to us through Yishai.tv or Yishai Fleischer TV on YouTube. Another great way to support the show is buymeacoffee.com/Yishai. It's for small donations to help be part of it. It's great. It's an awesome system. It gives me spiritual caffeine. And also, don't forget where I work, which is the Jewish community of Hebron, which houses the tomb of the forefathers and mothers, Abraham and Sarah, Isaac, Rebekah, Jacob, and Leah. Jacob is Israel. Don't forget that. Not so far away is also the tomb of Rachel. Learn about Hebron. Come visit it, hebronfund.org. And finally, the slogan for today is Make God Great Again. Make God great again. And I'm going to ask Malka to make that t-shirt. I want that t-shirt on Yishai Fleischer TV on YouTube. We have a little merch channel. This is like my favorite one of them all. Make God great again. Make God great again. I believe in that. I believe in you, and I'm sending you blessings from the land of blessings. I want to thank my team that makes it all possible. I want to thank my guests. I want to thank especially my producer, Yo, for working so hard to get us all those videos. And more great stuff is coming out on this channel. Be'ezrat Hashem, with the help of God, He gives us strength to keep pushing it out, to keep pumping it out here from the land of Israel, to be broadcasters of His great message. God bless you, folks, wherever you are. Stay tuned, stay strong, stay connected, stay part of the story. Lots of blessings from the land of blessings, and shalom.